Hi, welcome, and thanks for joining us. I'm Cynthia Cortez, and I'm Program and Communications Coordinator at Fort Greene Park Conservancy.
And I'm Shelwyn Ula, and I'm the Community and Outreach Coordinator for Fort Greene Park Conservancy, and we are both Civic Corps members and FGPC staff.
In this video, we will briefly talk about Fort Greene Park, Fort Greene Park Conservancy, and ways to get involved through volunteering. What we do, the Fort Greene Park Conservancy works with the City of New York and NYC Parks to steward, fundraise, and advocate for Fort Greene Park. How do we do that? FGPC offers staff support, arts and cultural programming, connects individuals, community groups, and businesses to park life, funds park maintenance, and raises the profile of the park in Brooklyn and city life. About the park. Fort Greene Park was designated as Brooklyn's first official park in 1847. It is the largest Revolutionary War gravesite in the nation, was designed by Olmsted and Box in 1867, who also designed Central Park and Prospect Park, and the Prison Ships Martyrs Monument was designed by McKim, Mead, and White in 1908. The park was landmarked as part of Fort Greene Historic District in 1983.
So, Fort Greene Park has a busy 30 acres, and this 30 acres includes a sacred site, which includes the Monument Plaza, the Monument Steps, and the Martyrs Crypt, which has buried inside prisoners of war. The largest passive recreation space in Fort Greene and Clinton Hill, it is also known as a dog walker's mecca in Brooklyn. It has two playgrounds, one on the DeKalb Avenue side, one on the Myrtle Avenue side, that serve thousands of families, and it also contains the only public tennis courts in downtown Brooklyn. And on the Myrtle Avenue side, we have basketball courts and barbecue areas that serve 8,000 plus NYCHA residents. It is a vibrant exercise community surrounded by paths, steps, hills, and a plaza, and we also have a large event space that serves over 22,000 visitors annually through concerts, our Halloween festival, movie screenings, and more. And now I want to talk about volunteer opportunities that Fort Greene Park Conservancy hosts. We have weekly and bi-weeklies, and our weeklies include Friday Volunteer Corps, our Volunteer Gardeners program, and our bi-weekly includes Spruce Up Fort Greene Park, which is usually during Saturdays. And to tell you more about our volunteer opportunities, we also have annual events like Mulch Fest, our Halloween festival, Leave No Trace, tree lighting, and we are hosting two new programs, our Volunteer Greeter program and our Volunteer Leader program. And now I'll talk about our Friday Volunteer Corps program. It meets on Fridays from 4 p.m. to 5:30. Volunteers will be assisting with general park maintenance. There is no commitment. Some of the park maintenance activities that we will be doing include glass cleanup, raking leaves, soil erosion control, pathway edging, weeding, painting, and more.
Volunteer gardeners meet on Thursday and Saturday mornings from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., and a weekly commitment of 90 minutes is required, and a volunteer would simply choose which day works best for them and then help maintain the park's 35 garden beds. We also work alongside a parks horticulturalist, and this is a really great way for volunteers to develop gardening skills as no prior gardening experience is required to volunteer.
Spruce Up Fort Greene is our Saturday bi-weekly program, and volunteers will meet at 11 a.m. and finish at 1 p.m. And this program runs from March to December, weather permitting. And this program is to help to keep the park clean and green by gardening, raking, cleaning, and planting the park. There is also no commitment required. To talk a little bit about our annual events, we have Mulch Fest, usually around the time after Christmas, and it is to help spread pine-scented mulch around the park from shredded Christmas trees. And our other famous event is our Halloween festival, which volunteers will be helping set up and run our annual Halloween festival, and they could also pick a choice of their shift and station. Leave No Trace comes every year, usually in November, and volunteers will be helping with raking and bagging leaves. And we also have our annual tree lighting event where volunteers will be helping with event setup and crowd management.
Next, we have the Volunteer Greeters program, and that will be meeting Saturdays from 1:30 to 6 p.m. starting in June. And we ask volunteer greeters to make a monthly commitment of 3 hours and to work in pairs during 90-minute shifts. And we are really excited because it's an opportunity for volunteers to engage and educate park patrons on park events, history, and more. In order to apply, please email volunteer@fortgreenpark.org and submit an application on the Google form.
Our Volunteer Leaders program is a new and exciting way to take on more responsibility and develop your skills as a volunteer. Volunteer leaders will assist staff in managing volunteer events, and this will include contributing to set up for the event, tool prep, signing volunteers in, educating volunteers about the park's history, training volunteers for the project, and ensuring volunteer safety. Volunteer events will either consist of a park maintenance project or a special event. Park and maintenance projects at Fort Greene Park include a variety of maintenance and landscaping activities, as mentioned before in our Friday Volunteer Corps program, in addition to fence building, composting, and more. Special events will include our annual Halloween festival, tree lighting, Easter egg hunt, and charity events. There is a commitment, which includes that volunteer leaders must attend a minimum of 6 events per season. The seasons include March to July 2018 and September to December 2018. A volunteer leader must be available for the entirety of the volunteer project, and they are typically 2 to 4 hours long on both weekdays and weekends. A leader must be able to assist with both setup and wrap up in the hour before and after the event, and they must register for a volunteer leader project at least 3 weeks in advance. There are also some requirements. Volunteers must have attended at least 2 FGPC volunteer events before applying, and they must be able to lift a minimum of 25 pounds and be willing to work outside in varied weather conditions. They also must attend an hour-long orientation. What we look for in a volunteer leader is that they are able to independently lead a group of volunteers, have previous outdoor work or park work underneath their belt, and then they have the ability and willingness to work with volunteers and liaise with park patrons as representative FGPC. The application will soon be available, and if interested, please email volunteer@fortgreenpark.org.
Now that you know more about our volunteer programs, this is how you can sign up to volunteer. You can visit fortgreenpark.org and register on various event pages and then meet at the Visitor Center, or for certain programs, you would email volunteer@fortgreenpark.org.
And now I want to talk to you guys about groups. We usually accept 2 different types of groups, school groups and corporate groups, and you can email the individual email addresses listed below. For school groups, we typically accept a maximum of 10 volunteers from high schools and colleges. For corporate groups, we can accommodate as much as 150 people. Finally, let's look at the reasons to volunteer at Fort Greene Park. We are a small staff and can use all the help we can get from our volunteers. It is a great way to connect with your neighbors, get community service hours for high school and college, and give back to your local community park. Being a volunteer at Fort Greene Park will also allow you to learn new skills in horticulture, the environment, and event planning and management. Thank you for watching. If you would like to volunteer, please email volunteer@fortgreenpark.org.